Welcome to the final episode of Sessions from Oblivion. It's been a roller coaster ride for us here. We've never made a programme before, let alone a series, and it's been a steep learning curve, and I want to take the opportunity to thank the team that worked for free. Janko Genov, our sound engineer who recorded and mixed all of the wonderful music that you've been listening to. Niall from Woodpark Studios, who is behind the camera there. Thank you very much, Niall. I shot the band footage, he did everything else. He made the graphics and stitched the whole programme together and had to put up with all of the mistakes that I made, so I'm very, very sorry again, Niall. IanWilson jumped in early as our series producer. Thank you, Ian. Ave Pollard spearheaded our marketing from Quinzel Media. Thank you, Ave. The bands that played, episode 1, Car Crash. If you haven't seen episode 1, go back and look at it. A brilliant band. And I asked JD, their singer, for a quote and what was his experience like being on Sessions. And he said, "Sessions from Oblivion is a shining magpie in a world of busted crows." Which I think is a great quote. The rest of the bands, JJ Bloom, Padraig Jack, Bullet Girl, ELKAE, the Orr Brothers, all fantastic musicians, and we wish them the very best of luck. In tips and tricks, we had Jackie Hayden, Brian Whitehead, Eleanor McEvoy, Mary Coughlan and Danny Saber. Danny was introduced to us by a mutual friend, Mick Kiley. Thank you for that, Mick. Danny's worked with the Rolling Stones, David Bowie, Madonna, U2, and to have a professional like that involved is just mind-blowing, so thank you very much, Danny. Dunboyne Castle gave us their facility to film in, so thank you, Liz, and all the staff at Dunboyne Castle, and Willie Ryan helped us with legal advice. Most importantly, you guys that have shared this. We thought we were being ambitious, looking for 10,000 views per episode. We're up to over 250,000 views. It's mind-blowing, really, and that's down to you guys. So thank you so much. Don't forget to share this video and like the page. Okay, final episode. This is old friends of mine, seasoned musicians, the Camembert Quartet.
Hi everybody, we're the Camembert Quartet. Yes, I know there's 5 of us, but that's because we're the greatest 5-piece quartet in the world, a club of 1. Welcome to Sessions from Oblivion. We've been living in this basement for 7 months, but we're back, raring to go, ready to gig in 6 months. And this is our theme song.
Would you make me hear on your acoustic guitar? You know you're giving me the wrong impression. Instead of making me wanna get up and dance, you know you're giving me manic depression. I don't care about your failed relationship with some skanky girl. There's some slightly more important things happening in the world. I want it cheesy. Give it to me easy. I want it cheesy. To me. Give me some of that cheese. I want to hit that cheesy on my radio. Give me some of that cheese. I want to hit that cheesy everywhere I go. Well, I was rapping with the devil. He was crying in his stoop, 'cause someone had sold him the rock and roll dream, and now that he had me duped, he was wondering what he might do with this wasted youth. I said you've got to get with it and understand the basic truth. They want it cheesy. Give it to me easy. I want it cheesy. Give it to me easy. Give it to me. Give me some of that cheese. I want to hear that cheesy on my radio.
Okay, that was Gimme Some of That Cheese by the Camembert Quartet, and I have with me now my old friend, Mr. Paddy Cullivan. How are you?
I'm great, Andrew. Thanks so much.
It's great to see you.
It's great to see anyone.
In the the sumptuous surrounds of Dunboyne Castle.
Well, this was the former home before COVID came along.
Right. I'm so sorry.
I've downsized.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Camembert Quartet.
Yeah.
What are they all about?
Well, the greatest five-piece quartet in the world. We formed about 20 years ago, and we had a kind of a comedic edge. We were like the kind of Frank Zappa side of things, and we were trying to be an Irish Frank Zappa, and we released our first album, Music is War, in 2002, which featured diatribes about boy bands and all the stuff that we hated in the music biz, and kind of loads of different styles, which is what we do. And then 2 years later, we released Sell Out, because we did sell out and ended up being the house band on the Late Late Show and couldn't sing songs with evil words in them anymore.
That is the ultimate sellout.
Yeah, it is.
But I hope it was lucrative.
Well, you know, we were kind of ahead of our time, you know,
right.
As in we almost predicted by our own lack of album sales that albums would never sell again as they do now. And so we went into television. Which is a bit like yourself. And that is kind of the secret, you know, that you have to kind of diversify now. Bands have to do absolutely everything, and we did. So it was unique being a house band, but it kind of stopped us doing the original work in a sense, because we were kind of very busy gigging and stuff like that. So we became a gigging corporate band as well as trying to do the odd original thing, you know.
That song, Gimme Some of That Cheese, I think it's a brilliant pop song and played fantastically. I know you're taking the mick and that, but is that on any of your albums?
It is. It's on the second album, Sell Out.
Okay.
We were Sell Out was kind of the first album made fun of boy band and kind of Radiohead and things like that. The second album, Sell Out, took more of an aim at the kind of the singer-songwriter scene that was huge around the time.
Right.
And we were just sick of like fellas playing acoustic guitars and, you know, songs of lost love. And
I heard a great quote. It's from Pat Farrell. He said, "Oh, there was a lad playing his guitar support, and you know, I've suffered from my art, and now it's your turn."
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so for us, it was about being a really dynamic, virtuoso band, big sax solos, big things like that, and just kind of, but also just kind of having a lot of fun with it and kind of upbeat types of things. You know what I mean? And that's where we are at in terms of our original music, you know.
Yeah, it's an incredible achievement because very successful for corporate functions, weddings, launches, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you still continue to write original music.
Oh yeah, tons of it. And even Sit on My Facebook was one that came out in 2013.
Sorry, what?
Sit on My Facebook was just about how the internet was taking over everything. And so basically, I suppose it's like it's our valve that all the, you know, we have to be very well behaved all the time. And then in our original music, we can give out about everything, you know.
Good. And as you get older, and I get older, we can get older disgracefully.
Oh, absolutely, disgracefully.
Which you're doing very well, Paddy.
I'm doing my best. But at least I trim my beard, though, Andrew.
Yeah, sorry. It's new to me, and I'm...
COVID is no excuse, my friend.
Yeah, you're right, for tardiness.
Yes.
And being unkempt.
Yes. You look like a Dubliner.
I look like a what?
A Dubliner.
A Dubliner?
Yeah.
All right, well,
just don't get any Dubliner cheese caught in there.
Okay, time for a second tune, second of three from the Camembert Quartet. Would you like to introduce it there, Paddy?
Okay, well, this is also on the second album, Sell Out. Sell Out, which you can purchase, everybody, easily on our website. And the first album, Music is War. That was essentially our philosophy. But Gimme Medicine, I suppose, weirdly, a lot of these songs are predictive. We ended up doing a live show in Waterford, doing all the songs from the albums. And we were going, how come 16 years later, in the midst of COVID, these songs all seem to relate to now? They're songs about climate change. You know, we came to rock and roll, giving out about like climate change orientated singers. Gimme Medicine then is about how we need some kind of medicine to make us feel good and cure everything. And of course, back then it was probably about drink or whatever like that. But actually now we actually want some medicine. And hopefully the vaccine should roll out in the next 20 to 30 years, it being Ireland. So Gimme Medicine and make me feel good.
Okay, track 2, Gimme Medicine.
the Central Plaza. They told us that we couldn't play there anymore. Give me medicine, let me feel good. Give me medicine, and let me feel good. Elvis knows, that's how it goes. I met him just the other day. Here's what he said. Say it, man. Give me medicine, and let me feel good. Alright. Give me medicine, let me feel good. Feel good. Give me medicine, let me feel good. Give me medicine, let me feel good. Give me medicine, let me feel good. Yeah.
That was Give Me Medicine by the Camembert Quartet. Fantastic stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Very apt, very apt.
Very apt, and a lot of roasting there by Doc on sax, obviously, and Glenn on guitar.
Yeah.
Who's from Norway. He's a kind of a hostage situation.
Oh, I see.
We have a Norwegian in the band as part of the Irish Viking peace process.
Right.
From the Battle of Clontarf.
Yes, yes.
So he's
Good.
in the band, and equally there's an Irish person in a band in Norway.
Yeah. Was it true that it was going to be called the Cormac Moore Band originally?
It was going to be called the Cormac Moore Band, but I could never have that. Being a lead
No.
singer, lead singers, of course, will never
I
allow the
know.
bass player
I know.
to have his name in the band.
I follow his Facebook page, and it's just constantly look at me and my bass.
I know,
and
but
slap of the bass.
But that's because he's brilliant. What
He is
else
brilliant.
can I say?
He's absolutely
You
brilliant.
know, what did they say in the producers? If you've got it, flaunt it.
Very good.
That's kind of what we're about as a band.
And
know?
you were flaunting it before lockdown.
Definitely. We were doing great before lockdown. I think
Yeah.
we're heading for our most successful year, I'd
Right.
say. We did 27 gigs in February of 2020.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
between kind of the odd solo gig on my part, but we were very, very busy.
How much work did you lose?
I'd say we would have lost up till January of 2021 150 gigs.
Wow.
And that's mainly corporates, a few weddings, but mainly corporate work, and the odd pub, but generally, and festival, but generally mainly corporate stuff. So
Okay, yeah.
it's been a massive hammer blow.
I suppose when the gigs come back, I mean, there's not going to be an announcement that all the venues are open, we can all go back to work. It's likely to trickle back slowly.
Trickle back. So that's actually going to be the name of my new tribute act.
What's it?
It's a tribute to Nickelback, Trickleback. And basically we'll do one gig a month.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think we're going to end up. I have to say, the trickle-down philosophy is very funny. We're kind of living under a government that seems to believe... I saw an interview last night with the Taoiseach, and he was saying that, don't worry because there's 14 billion in savings. As if somehow when this is all over, people are just going to go out and spend all those savings and the arts will be saved. And I just think that is not a plan at all. Because
No.
by that stage we'll be dead. I mean, most of us are on the PUP, and nobody can cover all of their bills, their mortgage, anything like that, on $350 a week or even $203. You know, so it's really a crisis in terms of it's a haphazard way of running things. There are things like the CRSS that businesses with a rateable premises can avail of. There was other schemes that companies could avail of, but the sole trader musician, which is most of us.
I think the government just weren't aware. Like there's my brother Steve runs our largest department is the pub department. Would pay Irish musicians in excess of 100,000 a month.
Yeah.
And you could double that in December.
Wow.
And these people, in their thousands, haven't gotten anything except the PUP. They don't get any of that. And they're all small businesses.
Yeah.
As you said on the Matt Cooper show, you play in premises, but they're not yours.
Yes.
It makes no sense to exclude you from funding.
Exactly, and I call it the bag of sanders, someone who needs a bag of sand or a grand a week to survive. Like, there's a lot of people who do that, who might do 5 gigs of €200.
Yes.
They might do 3 gigs of €300. They might do 2 gigs of €500. But 350 is not a grand. And all the bills that you had before then, all the tax you were paying, VAT if you're in that realm, none of it gets covered by the PUP. So, and I don't blame necessarily the politicians who've lived all their lives as politicians. Or the Department of Finance, who may not understand, but they should at this point understand what a mobile, movable premises or a business of moving parts is. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not just like a shop where people come in and buy stuff. You know, we go out and we play in 200 different premises a year, and we need the same business supports as anybody else.
The MEAI, Musical and Entertainment Association of Ireland, you're familiar with the guys, Jackie and Matt, Leslie Kane. They've gotten into government, and they're doing Trojan work. And in fact, if anybody is a performer, you need to get to their Facebook page, MEAI, and register with them there. They got me into a Zoom meeting with government to talk about, you know, these musicians and in their thousands. And government is simply, we're not aware. So they now have a problem where they don't know how they're going to help these guys. There's much talk about 50 million. I don't know how much of that is going to filter through to these guys that play 5 or 10 gigs a week in Temple Bar.
Exactly, but it has to be a catch-all thing. I get why they're confused, because they can see, let's say, in a company or a business, when it comes into them, they go, oh, that's what that does, and it's much harder to understand what a freelance person does.
Yes.
You know, at the same time, they need to get out of the 20th century, because it's called the gig economy, and that's how most of the world is running now. So they do have to kind of open their eyes and see that there's a whole coterie of people or cohort of people that need to be helped out, but all we can do is enlighten them, you know. But don't take too long, guys. Don't take too long, because we're not going to last.
Well, I'm hopeful that there will be some support packages.
Hopefully, but like all-encompassing, almost, dare I say it, socialist in their outlook, in that everybody gets the same.
You had to get that in, Paddy, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah.
Okay. Every episode has a section called Tips and Tricks, and this is it. Hello, Mary Coughlan. How the hell are you?
I'm all right. How are you? At last we get to do this.
In the setting up, moving around your house, I was very impressed. There's a lot of artwork and things hanging from the ceilings in a lovely big back garden.
Oh yeah, they're all homemade. There's nothing here of great value. We got actually broken into just in January, and the thieves made off with absolutely nothing except some change that was in a jar on the table.
You got broken into?
Yeah, they actually took the reason I can't go outside is they took the entire window, the huge big patio doors. They took them out by the frame.
Wow!
From the concrete. Yeah, it's crazy, but there you go.
Do you know what that was? They heard you on the radio saying you didn't make any money, and they figured that's a lie. Let's go in. She's all her money under her floorboards.
So they got nothing anyway. So that was nothing here to see.
Yeah, that gig I helped with on Irish Rail for the wonderful Joanne. They came to me for Damien Dempsey, but I'd suggested yourself and some other people, and you're the first one I rang, and you physically whooped. You went, "Woo, a gig, an actual gig."
Yeah. It was great. It was great. Sure. We've done a few things like that, and it's kind of strange. Actually, the one at the railway station where there were the most people hanging around all the time, because there were other bands kind of standing around waiting to go on as well.
It was a lovely vibe. Actually, anybody looking for that can find it on the Focus Ireland Facebook page. All the gigs are on it.
Yeah, they put it up again. She sent me an email about it the other day again. Yeah, it did. I think they raised a lot of money.
I think they raised 50 grand for Focus Ireland.
Just over 50 grand, yeah.
Mary, I want to know what advice you would offer new singers, new artists getting into the game.
I can't really give advice. I used to hate record companies until I used to say never sign a record deal, but I don't know if that's true, because without Warner Brothers in the beginning and Virgin, they put a lot of money into PR, you know, and consequently, I still travel around the world when I can. Like, I go to Australia and New Zealand every other year, America, and most of my career was in Scandinavia and Germany, you know, and that was because of Warner Brothers. I think really they really went to town on me in 1989, 1990, and I had a great producer. And really, I think that is something also that I think people should look at, finding somebody outside their own little bubble to get it.
Now, you know, with the global village. And I don't know if you saw Brian Whitehead's piece. He did Tips and Tricks a few episodes ago. And he was saying record labels expect people to be in the hundreds of thousands of followers. And they're, you know, of course, they're looking at this sort of stuff. Whereas before, in our day, Mary, there was no internet.
No, there was no internet, and we did have to do. I mean, it was great to get big labels behind you. You know, they had the money, and that's what they did. Now, when I was talking to people, because this new album, I decided to throw the kitchen sink at it, and I spent a lot of money on it. I spent all my savings on it, and I went back to Pete Leinster in the UK because I really, really, really like him, and I guess I did my most successful work with him, certainly the biggest selling, record.
Yeah.
And I wanted, because I was 64, I just wanted to do something, big. And
this is life stories
and everything.
Life stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's done well.
Yeah, it's done really well. It's done really well. And the last single I wrote, we finished it on the 24th of February, last 2019. I went to the airport, came home, and I was going to go back and have another go at the vocal, but that wasn't possible. So we edited it over the phone, literally, or over the computer, the whole album. And it was the most played song on radio last year, the song that I wrote, Two Breaking Into One, which was actually an afterthought. It wasn't. The album was finished before I did that song.
Yeah.
So
is your advice, find a good producer?
I think my advice is find a good producer and spend money on PR. I got Michelle Whitehead to do PR on this album. And I said, I had spent the money. So there's no point in just leaving it, you're just letting it, fend for itself. So I said I'd have to get, to go the extra mile, even though it was lockdown. And it really paid off. And I got all, I had quite a bit of success with it, considering, people came, I met, I did some good interviews and got great press and good radio. So, I think your producer is important because, sometimes you think what you're doing is great, and then somebody else who comes in and they just have a different way of looking at it,
Yeah. What would you change, Mary, if you were starting out again? If it's, when did you get your first record label? Was it 89 or thereabouts?
No, I'm okay. The record label was 89, but I did the first album, Tired and Emotional, did it in 1984. I was number one in January 1985. And I had Eric Vitzer. I was working with Eric at the time, and Eric produced the first three albums. And he was very experienced, and because he was signed to Polydor in Polydor in the Netherlands. And so it all just happened overnight, as you probably know. I was just up from Galway 5 minutes, and the next minute I was all over the place,
And what would you change, Mary? What did you do wrong?
What would I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Well, I think everyone knows what I did wrong. I don't know if I can say it. I had a dodgy record label, and I didn't get good advice. I didn't get any legal advice on contracts I was signing.
Okay.
None whatsoever.
Right.
And I was unaware of the fact, and I couldn't even blame drinking, because I wasn't even drinking at that stage. I think I had my first gin and tonic when I was 30 in the Pink Elephant.
Oh, I remember.
I had 3 small children, and so I was kind of green around the edges, and it all hit me it was all like new to me. But I didn't get any legal advice, and I literally signed pieces of paper that I never even asked what they were for. And in one of them, unfortunately, I signed away the right at my house in Howth. I had bought a house in Howth at the height of my career and my success. I bought a big 5-bedroom mansion out in Howth on 2.5 acres of land up in the Bailey. And I had signed a deal for a tour, and the house was put up as collateral for the tour. There was no, and that was the end of that. I actually lost my house. Legal advice, and I do now, even if it's just the smallest thing, I
Yes.
just ring a solicitor and just say, what's the story with this, or can I do this, or can I do that, And
Where did you go
advice
after
is,
Holt?
what?
Where did you go when you lost the house in Holt?
Oh, stop it. It was just so awful. I remember walking down from the house after the National Irish Bank took the house back, and I rented a small 3-bedroom semi-D over in Portmarnock because I didn't want to take the kids out of school that were going to school in Sutton. And actually, after 3 albums and huge, I'll just do inverted commas there, huge success, all I was left with was absolutely nothing. And I had to start from scratch again, I mean, I can say easily that it's easy to do it for myself now. And the last few albums have been on my own. I have a record label called Hail Mary Records. But it's because I had the name, already. It
Yes.
would be really hard, I think, starting off for people.
Yeah.
And there isn't a lot. I know there's a few people on Irish radio that play Irish artists, but there's not many of them. There's people at night, John Creedon, you're lucky to get a spin from Ronan during the day, and then John Creedon in the evening is brilliant. And then after that, it's you're into the late date, with Cahill or Fiachna,
Yeah. Mary, thank you so much for taking the time. I do appreciate it. And I think that's great advice.
Okay, thank you, Andrew.
Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was tips and tricks. Thank you very much, Mary Coughlan. Paddy, what would your tips and tricks be?
Don't get into the music business. Yeah, at all.
Why not?
Do banking. They always get bailed out in any crisis, and possibly accountancy.
Right.
Because they still have to always account. And that's it. Politics, probably. Get into politics, because you're kind of protected in
I
there.
hear it's lucrative.
Lucrative, pretty good. So don't get into music at all, because I've just witnessed in a year everything collapse, including I do voiceovers as well as another. I do 10 different jobs. Voiceovers is one. And then right in the middle of a pandemic, I see these ads for like automated voiceovers with like the banner, never use a human voice again. Just talk into the machine and we'll make it, you will have a voiceover like this. And you're kind of going, sensitive guys, really sensitive.
How did you get into this game?
How did I get into the music?
Yeah.
Yeah, my father is a classical composer, and he's my mother's an artist, and then I learned piano from 4 onwards, and then my grandfather gave me a Spanish guitar in America one time. My mother's from New Jersey, and I learned guitar from there. So I was setting up bands in school. I went to Mount Temple then, as did you, the great, what I call the United Irishman School, and really encouraged music there. So I had bands in...
Who was your music teacher at Mount Temple?
I had Mr. Bradshaw and Mr.
Dr.
Medlicott.
Bradshaw.
Dr. Bradshaw and Mr. Medlicott as well. So, yeah, the greatest Protestant names of all time.
Right,
Miss Prandy in history.
Yeah.
Mr. Mackenzie.
Mr. Mackenzie,
Mr.
yes.
Mackenzie. There was great names all through there. And I was really encouraged music, and Donald Moxham, of course, was a big encouragement.
Great guy.
Yeah, great in history as well, which I've done a lot of stuff in history since then as well. So it's that was encouraging. Then straight to art college, NCAD, and then straight out of there. And it was a choice between graphic design and working for a living, and then gigging. And I was already gigging, and gigging seemed simpler.
Who were you gigging with at the time?
It was Vulva and the Phallus Palace, which was a 40-piece band that we had formed out of art college.
Okay.
And which I had to reduce economically in the mid-90s down to 5.
Right.
Late 90s. And then we kind of morphed into the Camembert Quartet then.
Okay.
So
Cormac in there?
Cormac on bass was in NCAD with me. He studied sculpture, I did visual communication.
Right.
And then Doc, we met along the way. He was just... Doc is like a child prodigy, genius.
He is incredible.
He's playing, he's like
incredibly
Mozart.
Gifted musician.
Mozart on keyboard and sax from 6 years old.
Right. I hate people like that.
No, I love those people. They're great. Yeah, because they're totally jaded by the time they're 21.
Ah,
yeah,
they're burnt out.
Burnt out, but they know the lie of the land. You know what I mean? And then you're coming in going, isn't this fantastic? And they're going, yeah, get the money.
Yeah. Now,
Only kidding. No, Doc is a very positive person. He's a genius.
I know. You're not just front man for the Camembert Quartet. You ran a show, 1798, your history show. You're an MC, a songwriter. You do Funny Fridays with Joe Duffy.
No, that's gone.
Oh, that's gone, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's gone. Long gone.
Is it really? All right. I'm living in the past.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, some people thought it should be just called Friday.
Right.
Instead of Funny Friday. I did a lot of satirical songs in terms of like you write to order, like you write about the issue of the day. So that was very much a kind of a thing I was doing. And then I wrote for Oliver Callan as well on his show. So,
he's brilliant.
So I had a million fingers in a million different pies.
Spread very thinly.
Yes, and all the pies have been eaten by COVID.
We're out of pies.
All the pies are gone.
You have a solo release coming up as well.
I do have. Well, I'm working on that very, very soon. It's kind of tentatively called The Dark Decade Is Gone, and it's going to be, how can I call it? It's almost like a cosmic. I call it cosmic music, which is kind of almost retro futurism is the kind of music I like. Where
retro futurism,
yeah.
Okay.
So it's Mark Fisher calls it hauntology. It's almost like a kind of a what you might call a kind of a nostalgia for a future that never happened. So I know this sounds, I know it's very conceptual, but it's very much like when 90s dance music came along.
Right. You've been at the Mushrooms again, Paddy.
That was the last new, well, I was then. That was the last new musical form that came along, right? And then after that, we just had retro for the rest of time.
Okay.
So Britpop came along and ruined everything, dare I say it.
Right.
And sorry to any Britpop fans out there, and I, of course, am a fan of all of that stuff. But I got this sense that that music will constantly now regurgitate itself, and that will Xerox itself to the point. So what I'm trying to do is bring back, almost become so retro that it's the new future, dare I say it. And I know that these seem like pretentious concepts to think about, but at least I'm thinking about something.
Yes,
you know? Yeah. It's not just like, you know.
Where can people buy this album when it comes out?
PaddyCullivan.com. But most importantly for this interview is CamembertQuartet.com.
Yes.
Which is our brand spanking new website. We're available for online gigs because they're the only ones going at the moment. Right. But also, you can get these things. And kids, let me just explain what this is. These are called CDs. This is how we listened to music back in the day. Not Spotify, where the artist gets absolutely nothing. These are actually pieces of beautiful music paid for, produced by us ourselves. And you could just order them online at CamembertQuartet.com. And the first person who actually orders one of these CDs will get the CDs in the post.
Paddy, it's been a great pleasure. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thank you. And this is a great idea. I think we need to actually talk about the business. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what it is. And I, you know, there's an awful lot of music shows, but very little about how it's all put together. I think it's really important, you know? Yeah,
you mentioned there in the radio interview on Today FM, people have this dreamy interpretation of musicians and the lifestyle. It sure isn't great, they're doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
And how did you explain
it? Drives me absolutely crazy. Because they've been a lot of artists have come forward, and look, they're nice people and they're very dreamy and artistic, and they're saying, you know, it's a vocation really, you know, we kind of almost do it for free. And a lot of people at the start of COVID were doing a lot online for free. And no, I know people have a need to gig and communicate and all of that, but you know, you always have to remember there's a value to what we do. It's worth billions to the economy. I did not get into music to be a dreamy kind of, oh, hopefully someone will see me someday. I can't get into it to make money. Like it's as if a lot of artists say, oh, it's not about the money, but like you have plenty of examples of people who made money, like Rod Stewart. Great kind of role model, Rod Stewart.
Yeah, musicians.
And for his music.
Yeah. Musicians have mortgages to pay too.
Absolutely, definitely, and that's why we need a mortgage break. If they don't bring any more schemes, we need mortgage breaks, rent breaks, everything that can help us to actually survive this whole thing. But we got to stop talking about music as if it's some kind of addendum to our lives. It's very much a part of everybody's life.
Absolutely,
and it's a career, and it's a paying career. You know, and you more than anybody know that.
Absolutely, Paddy. Thank you very much. We're going to finish on an up note. We're going to play out with Happy.
Me seem crazy and I'm about to say, yeah, so can't you see you can take a bite? Yeah, I'm a honey balloon that could go to Spain. garden on a dog fight.